Well, you've joined me today, very near the Experience Centre on Lake Mass. Now, I cannot wait for this. Looking forward to catching loads of fish. For this style of fishing, whether you're doing natural fishing or long distance commercial fishing, there's 7 rods that I want to talk to you about in the Aero X5 range. Brilliant rods, ranging from 12 foot to 14 foot, including also 2 Wagler rods as well at 13 and 14 foot. But let's talk about the feeder rods to start with. We've used high pressure carbon for these rods. That means we've minimised the diameter of the blank, increased the power of the blank, which for this style of fishing is so important. This means it helps the compression of the rod, it helps the rod straighten up during the progress of the cast, aids the casting distance, aids control, accuracy, and also playing action. All those are key factors to distance fishing, whether you're fishing a float or a feeder. In order to achieve the responsiveness of the carbon, we've also looked at using the lightest possible guides. Minimising weight at the top end of the rod is so important. So when you're in the progression of a cast, compressing the rod, you need that rod to straighten up as quickly as possible to minimise resistance as the line or the braid runs through the runners. This maximises the compression of the rod and the distance that you're trying to achieve with whichever length you actually choose. The rod I'm actually holding is the 12 foot. This is one of the best braid rods I've actually used, and I've been testing it over the past year now in England on local reservoirs, fishing for skimmer bream and bream. Can't believe how well it performs. Now, with all the rods within the range, there's some key factors. They all come with 3 quiver tips to suit the action of the rod themselves, which is really important. You could be facing a situation where you may be having to swap in the middle of a session to marry with the situation that you're faced with. The wind might pick up, the undertow might pick up. You need to swap to a heavier tip. So we've supplied 3 quiver tips for that reason. That allows you to adjust your fishing accordingly and carry on catching fish. And the responsiveness of the top action of the rod is so important. And by using the light guides, we've created not only a fantastic casting tool from the 12 foot right through to the 14 foot, but we've also created a lovely playing action. So whether you're on a commercial, long distance method work, or you're doing conventional feeder work for bream, skimmer bream, the rod plays an important part for both of those disciplines. Moving down the rod, as you can see, the cosmetics look absolutely brilliant. And we've spent a lot of time getting the cosmetics right, making it look a really, really stylish rod. When it comes to the actual handle, the reel seat is, again, so important. Everything has to feel comfortable. When you're using a long distance rod, everything has to sit in place with your hand, and that's exactly what we've tried to achieve, which is a lovely, comfortable rod with a reel on. We've used EVA at the front, which allows the fingers, nice soft material, allows you to grip the rod correctly. And then in the middle of the butt section as well, we've used cork. And at the bottom of the butt, where you're actually grabbing the rod at the base to compress the rod during the cast, we've used EVA again. This is a lovely material to grab hold of, minimises slippage with your hands. Both materials are perfect after a day's fishing for you to just wipe down, and they're as good as new. Now, let's talk about the rods in a little bit more detail. We've created 5 feeder rods. The 12 foot is perfect for distances up to 50 metres, whether you're on a commercial fishing a method feeder for carp and bream, or you're going on your local reservoir fishing for bream and skimmers. The 12 foot's lovely for up to 50 metres. And then moving up the range, we've then got the 13 foot. It's a distance feeder, which allows you to use both disciplines. And I've used this rod for fishing up to 100 metres. It's absolutely perfect for 70 to 80 metres for a conventional feeder and up to 100 metres with a method feeder. It's a lovely thin blank, as you can see again, lovely progressive action, for both styles of fishing, whether you're doing a conventional feeder for bream, abroad or in England, or you're fishing a method feeder. And then moving up the range, we've created some power rods as well. Now these come into play when you're abroad in Ireland or in Holland and you want to reach that extra distance, but also you're fishing a method feeder and you want to achieve that ultimate distance when you want to be maybe 10, 15, 20 meters further out than your competitors. That's going to help you catch more fish. So we've created the distance power feeder. Now this is perfect for rivers as well. It's perfect for all terrains, whether you're on a lake, a river, a commercial, an open water commercial where you want to fish a method feeder. We've tried to achieve everything within this rod to allow you to use it for all varied disciplines really. Again, ultralight rod, reasonably thin blank for what the rod is for, but it's got that extra boost of power here. That's really important for casting, control, and especially when you come to these natural waters, you may be having to face with undertow, extra flow, especially on rivers, and also rough terrain that you could be faced with when you're trying to bring that fish over the rocks or boulders. You want to keep your line away from the snags. So it's got that power there. If you've hooked a big fish, let's say a barbel on a river, it's got that control and power in the top 2/3 of the rod. Yeah, it's got that lovely playing action in the carrier section. Then moving up. Now this is the boy. And believe me, I've had some fun using this rod. This is absolutely amazing. This is the distance heavy power feeder rod. Now when it comes to control, using extra heavy leads, let's say you're on the River Isle in Holland, or you're fishing in the River Trent for big barbel, or you go into that lake and you want to get that even further distance with a heavier feeder, this is the boy. This is the rod that will do the damage. As you can see, it's got some real power here. It's got some real force. Again, we've achieved the same principle as what we've done with all the rods within the range, a lovely playing action. Now the heavy power 14 foot is for when you want to really punch that feeder out. We've tested all the rods with distances, and we've not just put the word distance on the rods for any reason. We've put it on because they are for distance fishing if you need them for that situation. With this particular rod, I've managed to cast 155 meters with a feeder. That shows how much power there actually is within this rod. And this is for extra distance, or you're facing a situation where you're in a snaggy peg, you need to get your line off the water, you need to pick the fish up from the snags. Control. This is a rod about control. Or you could be faced in a situation on a reservoir where all of a sudden the wind picks up, it's blowing an absolute gale, and you just want to carry on hitting your target. It often isn't about fishing a massive distance, it's about being accurate and casting to the distance and achieving that distance. And as we all know, on reservoirs like this, open water reservoirs, the wind can pick up, and all of a sudden the 13-foot rod, you can't hit your clip, you can't get to the distance where you bait it up. So swap to a 14-foot rod and you can carry on catching fish and having a great day. That is the principle behind using just that extra foot length within the rod to achieve that principle. So they're the 5 feeder rods. Now let me quickly talk to you about the 2 Wagler rods as well. Now we've created 2 Wagler rods within this range, 13 foot and 14 foot. Now, especially when you're fishing a slider or you're fishing a conventional Wagler, 13 and 14 foot rods are really important. The 14 foot rod allows you to use an extra heavier float, whether it's a slider or a conventional Wagler. It allows you to reach that extra distance, but more important, it's got line control. So let's say, for example, you're fishing a Wagler on a river. You need that extra foot length within the rod to pick that line up, get the line behind the float, getting control of the float, and when you receive a bite, you can connect with a bite and the fish far quicker because of that extra length. Because it's a longer rod as well, it's got a little bit more power in the base of the rod. That aids casting, aids distance, aids control. It's just a perfect tool if you're looking for a Wagler rod for natural fishing. It's absolutely brilliant. Then the 13 foot, this is more like an all-round rod, whether you want to use it for stick float fishing, light Wagler work. It's still got a lovely playing action as the 14 foot has, but of course it's just a foot shorter. But that allows you to use lighter Waglers and feel the power of the fish a little bit more. So let's say, for example, you're going on your local reservoir roach fishing or small skimmers. This is the rod. this is where you actually feel the power of the fight, even from the smallest of fish, because we've created a lovely parabolic action with both of the rods. So there you have it, the Aero X5 range.